So, to be successful, you need to develop a personal brand. Well, that's what we're told today in today's online media. In a world that's powered by side hustles, entrepreneurship, influencers, we need to be growing our personal brand. But this, for me, raises two very particular questions. One, what is a personal brand? What does that even mean? And two, what is success? What is it to be successful? My guest today is Chelsea Spencer. She's the founder of Big Reputation, and I sense that this is a little bit of a thorn in Chelsea's side. Is that right, Chelsea?
A little bit,
It's
yeah.
a little bit of a thorn in Chelsea's side. Chelsea's really all about building genuine influence, challenging what success really looks like in today's world, and why authenticity and reputation matter far more than algorithms and vanity metrics. So, if you're striving for success, you may want to think again. That's what we're discussing, and this is Shifting Views with Willis. All right, Chelsea, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
A pleasure to have you here. Thank you for driving up, and luckily the weather's held out for you, and you've not had to come through the storm to get up to.
It's been lovely.
Yeah.
Same, we're in the northeast. Sort of northeast.
Have you been to Hull before?
No, never.
Oh, it's a
I went to
magical
uni in Leeds, so I know Yorkshire.
All right.
Yeah, I've just never ventured this far east.
Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about personal branding. We're talking about marketing. We are in an online world. We are in an age of kind of TikTok and Instagram and quick videos and influencers and all that kind of stuff. So there is like a natural move towards making influential videos, getting likes, getting shares and all that sort of stuff. But is that really the right approach to success? That's not really the way you see things, right?
You know what? It depends if that's your, I guess, like kind of frame of reference for success. But just because like some people are successful doing that doesn't mean you have to force yourself into it if that's not how you want to be successful.
Yeah.
I think for people my age, so I am 29, 30 next year, we kind of grew up with, and it's even worse for younger people, like you have to be this amazing influencer, or like you have to work for yourself, or you have to hustle 24/7 to be successful.
We are in a hustle culture, aren't we?
That
is the buzzword. Yeah.
Yeah. And and it kind of like, I think it creates burnout if you're working so hard on stuff that you're not really passionate about.
Sure.
And it can make you a really one-dimensional person.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people are very genuine around how they talk about their content and their influence.
Sure.
Because ultimately not a lot of people have an entire team of people around them like Gary Vee does that can help you create content.
Yeah.
And I know, put out 30 clips a day.
Yeah. There's a bit of waffle around it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Certainly online. And I think younger quote-unquote influencers are sort of buying into that. So you mentioned somebody like Gary Vee, who obviously has a massive agency, a massive team, lots of money, so that he's in a position to be able to put out that content very quickly. And actually a lot of what he says is very valuable, but if you're in that position to do that, if you're trying to replicate that and be that person, the likelihood is what you're saying is probably not coming from a genuine place or genuine experience.
Yeah, and I think as well, like, it's like the saying, everyone says what they used to say, like, everyone has the same 24 hours in a day as Beyonce. Yeah. And while we have the same 24 hours, we don't have the same resources that go into putting our 24 hours to be successful.
Yeah.
So I think it's just being very genuine around like the support that a lot of these business owners or influencers actually do have that help them to be quote unquote successful in their eyes.
Yeah, and there's a danger of sort of comparison envy, isn't there, really? I'm quite interested in this idea of personal branding because this is another buzzword that we hear a lot. And not to say that personal branding is wrong or a bad thing, but what people think of personal branding might differ from person to person. I mean, the clue's in the name, right? It's personal. So what do you think the obsession is with personal branding? And does it apply to businesses? Does it apply to brands?
Okay, I'm going to answer this question in a roundabout way. So correct me if I go off topic. But I think the obsession around personal branding, you've got two camps of people. Like, I guess one camp of them are almost being forced into it. They're the business owners that are now being told that people buy from people and, like, you've got to be the face of the brand. And in some ways they actually make better personal brands because they've already built something. They're really interesting people, and they'll create a personal brand to almost like the extent of furthering their personal goals.
Sure.
Whereas I think then you've got the other camp of people that just really like the clout, or they want to appear maybe more successful or appear to have more influence than they actually have.
Sure.
And with those ones, you'll often find, and I say this from experience after calling an agency Big Reputation, we get a lot of people coming to us that say, oh, I want a big reputation. But in the nicest way possible, they've done nothing to warrant having one.
Sure.
And they're the types of people where it's like, oh, but these are my content pillars. And I'm there questioning, like, but what experience do you actually have in those areas?
Yeah, what have you done? What have you done to justify it?
Yeah, 100%. What have you done to justify it?
Yeah.
And I think that's where you get two camps of people. One where it's like they're really genuine and they almost like they're doing this to further something that they've put a lot of work into and they just want to grow it more, but they have so much knowledge and expertise and it's just getting them to draw that out in a really structured way.
Yeah.
We love working with those types of people.
Yeah.
And then the other camp of people where they're almost like the type of people that would apply to be on like I'm a celebrity, get me out of here, when they're not a celebrity, if you get my drift.
Sure.
And they have almost like nothing to talk about, and they're so weak-willed in the sense of they'll just kind of go with the flow and the tide. So
is it almost, I don't know, like fame hungry or something?
You know what? Some people genuinely are.
Yeah.
And you can spot it a mile off, I think.
Yeah.
And when you're kind of working in that area, like you can tell people who are genuinely interested in what they're talking about, which like for things like TikTok, for example, if you've got a niche and you're really interested in it and you're putting out valuable content that is helping to educate and inform people on something, you will naturally do well on a platform like that.
Yeah.
Whereas if like you're just vlogging your life for the sake of it because you feel that people are really interested,
but
you're not saying anything of substance.
Sure.
Like, only so much you can do.
So
with it.
I guess there's a point there of sort of saying what value do you add in what you're saying, and if you have got value to add, then it has to have come from experience of doing something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not really adding value. You're kind of regurgitating or replicating what somebody else's value is.
Yeah, and you see this a lot actually with like people who are trying to flog you like an online course or like joining their mastermind or something.
Yeah.
And I will never approach someone to mentor me that hasn't done what I'm set out to do.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the saying, like, you wouldn't necessarily go to an unfit PT, would you?
Yeah.
So why would I buy a course from someone who's not done what I want to achieve?
Yeah. And strangely enough, if you have been quote unquote successful in whatever arena it is that you're in, you've kind of naturally developed your personal brand in a way because by default, by doing the thing, you've engaged with people. People know who they are. They're buying the thing from you. You are a leader in the industry of whatever it is that you do. So by default, you are the personal brand is being developed. You haven't got to force it, is what I'm saying.
Not necessarily, no. There's things obviously you can do to like maximize it. Like you can come onto platforms like this and share your views with people, but it's because you've, I don't know, spent 5-10 years developing those views, or like you get recommended to people and then you can do more stuff in that sense. But I think organic's maybe a good word for it.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I mean, I think I'm just trying to think of a personal example, but for me here in Hull, I've become more and more known for podcasts. But that's because I make a lot of podcasts. So my face is always all over LinkedIn behind a mic talking to somebody. So, so it's not something that is it's organic. It's not forced. I just put out the clips and they go, oh, there he is again, speaking to somebody else. So it becomes this natural thing. And then when I go and deliver, like, say, a workshop or something about podcasting, it kind of has natural credibility because they say, oh, well, that's what he does because we keep seeing that sort of thing. So it's not me going out there and trying to do that, having never filmed a podcast or never been on one or anything like that. It's just this natural thing. But to your point, and using an agency like yours, the idea of maximizing it or elevating that or using it in some sort of way to add maximum value, I think that's probably a different approach because the foundation is already there.
Yeah, and it's one of those where like over the last kind of couple of years since starting my business, we've really narrowed who we work with. So we're really reluctant now to work with startups. We try not to work with people where they have multiple ventures, because they're just very difficult to work with in the sense of there's no focus there.
Sure.
And they want to make their brand about them as a person, not necessarily around like the stuff that they're doing or the good that they're doing. And it doesn't really fit with where we want to operate with our business. So I think having people that have like a purpose for their personal brand, like there's a goal towards it. They're not going to throw something completely left wing out there that like makes their content seem really scattergunned. Like you know what they're trying to build, and then you can orchestrate the stuff to help them build that.
I'm quite interested in this split or definition between the two terms, really, but this brand and this reputation. How do you define each of them? How do they differ?
So I think you've got obviously like the same where it's like, I think it was one of like the guys, it was either Steve Jobs or the guy from Amazon that's said your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Sure.
That's technically your reputation.
Yeah.
So to me, I see them as two very of the same things. A brand is just something that you can try to control because you're putting it out there in the way that you want to put it out there. But ultimately, like if you don't have the actions and back up your brand guidelines, your reputation's never going to match what you think your brand is.
Yeah. And I suppose they equal each other, don't they? Because I suppose the reputation is wrapped in the brand, so to speak. It's the wrapper that's around it. So if you're a business with a poor reputation, then you're a business with a poor brand. If you're a business with a good reputation, you're a business with a good brand. Is that a fair?
You know what? I can see the logic behind it, but I also think as well, like there's so many companies that have rebranded where like they've not actually fixed the fundamental issues that have gone wrong. So like think of like airlines where they've like rebranded. I think like Thomas Cook did it to like TUI or something, and it didn't really fix anything.
Yeah.
And if they'd have just fixed what people were actually complaining about, they wouldn't have needed to have gone for a really expensive rebrand.
Yeah. Do you think authenticity is like a more organic thing though, because it's based on experience? Do you think reputation is based on a more organic thing? So it's because it's based on experience, authenticity, actually delivering. You develop a reputation for doing something, as opposed to a brand where it's something you can create and push out there almost without any foundation underneath it.
Yeah, so I think like obviously it depends. If you look at it from like a foundational perspective, like anyone can say that they do something, whereas like your reputation is actually like the action of you doing that and then being known for that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because like I could go out there and say that I'm an amazing car salesperson. Have I ever sold a car? No.
Yeah.
But like,
and you wouldn't have the reputation for doing so.
No, but like, there's nothing stopping me from saying it.
Yeah.
Other than like, I don't know, integrity.
Yeah. Where do brands go wrong when you think about this stuff? So when you think about brands that are really trying to, you know, they're coming to you and they say, we want a big reputation, we want to be known or whatever. What immediately are red flags for you? What stands out and you think, okay, well, we've got to correct this straight away?
Having a founder that doesn't have a ability to clearly articulate what their goals for that business are.
Okay.
Because that to me says like you maybe suffer from shiny object syndrome, and you are gonna drop whatever strategy we've created within 3 months because maybe you're bored of it and you want to do something else, and you won't give things the time to build an organic reputation. Other things that I think are big red flags. When your sales and commission structure doesn't back up long-term brand building, so that's when you get kind of stuck with bringing in short-term sales at the expense of like maybe delivering on the promises that those salespeople have made.
Yeah.
That's quite a big issue sometimes. Or again, saying that they want to do all of this, but then you've maybe got like an overly cautious founder who just wants to kind of like go with the status quo and like not really change anything, but they've just commissioned a marketing agency to do all of this stuff for them.
Yeah, I mean, do you think a lot of founders maybe don't really understand what brand is and maybe mix that up with marketing, like the doing of marketing, as opposed to the long-term building of reputation and brand?
Yeah, and I would say actually by not understanding brand or like the long-term goals of a business, you actually end up wasting so much money on your marketing because you approach it in such a short-sighted vision that there's no structure to it. You're happy to drop things or like not be consistent with them. It's kind of like yo-yo dieting in a way. They'll do something really intensely for 3 months and then just like, I don't know, it's probably worked for them. And then they're in the trenches of delivering on it. Then you don't hear from them for 3 months. And then actually once they've realised that the work's dried up, it starts again. So what you end up is with these peaks and troughs where like ultimately they plateau around the growth and there's no kind of
Is there an expectation as well of like quick ROI, you know, like, so if somebody appoints you as an agency, is there an expectation that in doing so, suddenly they're going to have significant growth or significant following? Is that something you have to dampen down when you kind of go into a new business?
Sometimes, yeah. However, I think our positioning does quite well at kind of steering people away from that.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, we've had some amazingly quick wins with clients that we've worked with. We signed one last year that we helped grow from 3 million to 4.5 within the space of 12 months. Helped an agency grow, not an agency, sorry. We've helped, as an agency, we've helped one of our clients grow from 6 to 12 million since working with them. So it's not that we can't achieve that, but I also am very conscious that those were really good businesses on a high growth trajectory anyway.
Yeah.
That we just happened to structure really well and we had a really good group of working with them.
Yeah. Because I have this idea in my head and looking at what you guys do, you seem to be very much about a strategic approach. So kind of setting a roadmap of, okay, here's what we're trying to do. Here's the output that goes. So here's the output of the business. Here's what the business is trying to do. And here's what we're going to do to try and support that and elevate that. And typically that's, you know, a long-term plan. It's something you're working with the business over a period of time, hitting a series of kind of milestones or whatever over that time to try and create that brand, you know, that output, that reputation. Within that, you might have some like really significant wins and some significant things that happen because you're doing those activities. But I suppose it's the leader or the founder or whoever's hiring you to buy into that partnership.
Yeah.
You know, and is that something that, is that a harder sell almost?
I would say as an agency, we're quite high value, low volume. So for us to really get under the skin of an organization that we're working with as an agency, like we really need to know them. We need to know what their capacity is because there's no point going out there and blowing them up if they can't deliver on it because that's going to create a big problem later down the line.
Yeah.
Knowing what their profit margins are on certain things and are we actually pushing the right stuff. So it takes up a lot of brain space in your mind to work with companies at such a strategic level. And I think our prices reflect that. One thing I will say, though, is we tend to not really lose clients unless they grow to a stage where it makes sense for them to have their own in-house team.
Yeah.
But we don't usually lose them to other agency providers.
Yeah. We're in a world now of, as we said at the start of the pod, you know, social media and influencing and stuff like that. But of course, a key word in there is trends. We're in a world of trends.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that, just generally trends? Because obviously they come and go. Is this something that brands should be jumping on? Is it cringy when they jump on it? Or, you know, what's your general outtake?
You know what? If it makes sense for your brand and it's not going to damage it and there's like a reason that you should do it, then fair play.
Yeah.
But when it's things like you've got Aldi jumping on, I don't know, the guy at the Coldplay concert who was cheating on his wife, it's a bit tone deaf because like I think people sometimes lose sight that at the heart of this is a family in like kind of emotional turmoil and it's maybe not that funny. But yeah, I think like turning the joke with M&S into an ongoing trend is quite funny.
Yeah. I think it's I suppose it's the why, isn't it? Why are you jumping on the trend? It might well be that you jump on the trend and you get lots of metrics off the back of that, i.e. likes and things like that. But actually, what has it achieved? Other than for that short period of time, you've kind of had a spike in social media analytics. But other than that, what actually is it? Does that align with a brand? How does that align with what you're trying to do as a business? How does that connect you with your audience?
I think if a company does that too often, they just end up being like that really annoying attention-seeking kid in the back of a class who like kind of pipes up every now and again with something completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then you almost like train yourself to turn off from it anyway. So then when they ever do anything amazing, you don't even pick it up because you're like, oh. You just kind of, I'm just used to them being noisy now.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of this last year, I would say. Kind of the famous trend online is is it the Jet2 holidays with the Jess Glynn song, which I think is just absolutely amazing. And of course, doesn't really have anything to do with the brand because, that's not their trend. Now, if you was advising that brand, if you was advising Jet2 as their agency, how would you react to something like that explosion? Would you be like, listen, we need to jump on this and leverage it? Or would you say, let that play its course. It's doing what it needs to do without your influence.
Oh gosh, well, I mean, there were ones where they were actually putting like fights or like bad things that have happened on the Jet2 airlines, and I think that's where it started because like something had kicked off on a Jet2 aircraft or something, and then someone videoed it and put that sound over the top of it.
Yeah.
So in that actual kind of like example, it was the classic British piss take. We're taking the mick out of this brand.
Yeah, totally.
So, with that one and how quickly it jumped up, I think I probably would have maybe advised them to just leave it and let it blow over.
Yeah.
I mean, Jess Glynn had an amazing time because of it, didn't she?
Well, she's doing great. Yeah, her song is just done wonderfully, hasn't it? And it's a great tune as well. But it's just the watching how that plays out, because I almost think instinctively, if you're the brand, depending on the type of character that's running the brand, you might want to jump on that. You say, listen, look what's happening here, guys. We need to put out content. We need to do something to make sure we, ride the wave, so to speak.
If it was Ryanair, I reckon that could have worked because of the character that they've got with their brand.
Yeah.
Where they're really cheeky and they'll take the mick, and like you almost never want to tweet Ryanair because they're going to come back with something even better than yours.
Yeah.
Whereas with Jet2, it was a really weird one.
Yeah.
Like they don't have that. They're not like an Aldi character.
They haven't got the banter, have they? That's the thing. But what I think's really great about that is the Ryanair one. You're right. They could easily put out, because they've developed that brand of cheeky responsiveness, and you kind of just take it. You just take it with a pinch of salt.
It wouldn't be out of character for them to like kind of poke fun at themselves for like, I don't know, a fight kicking off on one of their flights and then someone playing that song over.
But that goes back to that earlier point in the conversation, doesn't it? Where we're saying like you're forcing a brand, so it's not authentic.
Yeah.
Because what you're actually trying to do is leverage the metrics of the trend, but it's not actually reflective of who you are. And actually, they've done a lot better by saying nothing, because it's just exploded, and just let the internet do what it does.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Jess Glynn feels the same as well. So
I bet her royalties are rolling.
Yeah, I'm sure. When she gets her check in January, I'm sure she'll be over the moon. I said in the introduction a little bit about success and defining success in the modern world. We are in an age, and you touched earlier on a little bit on somebody like Gary Vee, who's, just kind of puts out these videos and says, come on, you can do this. Go and sell your car and do this and you'll be rich and it'll be great. And, you can do this. The opportunity's there. And there's some truth to what he's saying. He's essentially saying leverage what's available. Yeah. You've got great opportunities here. So that's fair. But is there a danger of sort of striving for success but not really knowing what your success is? Because typically, if I say success, instantly you're thinking money. I want to make loads and loads of money. Maybe I want some fame, or I want some like viral video or something like that. But success can mean 1,000 different things. And if you're a business or a brand, surely your definition of success should be aligned with what the strategy of the business is.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? One of my things was like when I set my business up, I would much rather sleep at night knowing that I've done the right thing than like have £1 million in the bank.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I think integrity is more important. And other people are super money motivated. Like I remember actually a couple of years ago when I just set the business up, I was out for dinner with a couple of other people, and they were saying that like they really wanted the private jets and like the bags and stuff. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate nice things, but like my version of success is, I don't know, like if I don't know, had kids, I'd love to send them to private school because I value education.
Yeah.
But that's something that I've done. Like before I even worked for myself, I paid for myself to do a secondary degree because I've got an English literature degree first up, not a marketing one.
Yeah.
And I've spent a lot of time on like time, resource, money on paying for like courses for myself, going to workshops, and that's...
So it's investing in yourself.
And I think it's just like I wouldn't be asked about going on a private jet.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to go on a Jet2 plane.
Yeah.
And I think it just depends on whatever it is. Obviously, they're not wrong for wanting that at all. That's just, but then again, like they've probably seen that online and seen that as their version of success.
I just wonder when people see that sort of stuff though, so when they see, say, like online influencers or particularly young people in this age, you know, with TikTok and things like that, where you sort of see younger generations allegedly making bags and bags of cash and they're not really doing anything. They'll never have to get a normal job because that's like the narrative that kind of comes out. And I wonder if success is actually more of a regret. Do you know, so people are looking at it going, you know, maybe they don't like the job particularly well, maybe they're having difficulties with money, maybe family life isn't great, whatever. Their own life is not what they wanted it to be. And it's that grass is always greener thing. You sort of see the other side and you think, oh, I want that. But actually, really, maybe they don't want that. They just want to improve the things that they feel like they're lacking. That's a really
good way of looking at it, actually. And it's kind of one of those, isn't it, where it's like, I really like that quote where it's like, it's always hard, you just have to pick your hard. And it's like, so a lot of my friends who work in jobs and have bosses, they've stopped moaning to me about work now because like they'll just moan about like their boss or their job or like not being able to do anything at work. And like, I think there's this kind of like misconception that like life is easy when you've got your own business maybe, but it isn't. And I think now they understand that it's like my life isn't easier than theirs because I have this. I just have very different responsibilities to them. Sure. And their biggest worry is, and it's not wrong to have this worry, like my boss isn't very happy with me today, or I didn't do a very good job in that presentation, or there's a restructure going on at work and there's an element of uncertainty. Whereas like my problems are like, if I don't make enough sales and I can't pay my team, or like, how do I grow this company without bankrupting it? Like, and it's just very different problems.
I think that's really interesting because there is always that dividing line between, say, like the self-employed, the entrepreneur, or whatever you want to call it, but people that have their own business versus people that are in a paid salary job. And the age-old line is, if you're in a salaried job, you know, you're in there because you want the security, you want the paycheck and all that kind of stuff. But then, you know, the other side is like, if you're self-employed, you have quote unquote the freedom, and that's kind of how it's seen. But those are very, very nuanced, blurred lines, aren't they? Because the reality of that is you still have the same stresses they have, but it's just in a different context of
100%. You know what? Actually, I feel like I answer to more people now than I did when I had a boss. Like, yes, I have the autonomy to, I don't know, like, I remember once actually I had a boss and I really wanted Canva Pro so that, like, I could set the brand kit up or whatever, and it was like £12 a month. And she made me do a cost-benefit analysis on the point of having Canva Pro. So now I'm, like, really grateful that, like, if I want to spend £12 a month on something, like, I don't have to ask anyone. I can just spend £12 a month on it. But I also don't necessarily have like freedom in the sense I'm not working from the beach. Like some weeks I've clocked up 80 hours because like there's just that much amount of like admin and like crap that I have to get through. That like no one else is going to do it for me.
It's kind of like be careful what you wish for, isn't it? In that sort of sense.
In some ways it is. Like I personally wouldn't change it, and I feel less stressed working for myself than I ever did for anybody else. Mainly because like I don't like being a part of cultures where there's like political power play involved. I love the fact that I can go into a business, consult and then leave within 2 hours.
Yeah.
And if I've had to have a really hard conversation with like that business owner because maybe we've butted heads on an idea, or like they're dragging their feet on something but still expecting the same results, I can kind of bluntly explain that they can't expect that, but I don't have to sit in that office with them for the rest of the day.
Sure.
And like stew in that kind of animosity.
Yeah.
Like we can both go our separate ways. I'll go back to my office, it can blow over, and then we've had a really good, difficult but productive conversation.
Sure.
But we've kind of approached it like we're here and here.
Yeah,
it's not like that power dynamic where I'm below here because I'm reporting into you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so it's equal conversation. We are in a world of change. I think it's fair to say we're in a technological revolution. The buzzword, of course, is AI. That's the big movement. I mean, that's just everything now. But digital trends, shifting algorithms, online content, TikToks, all of that kind of stuff. So for you, when you're sort of trying to build reputations, you're trying to chase, I guess, authenticity and develop brands, how difficult is it for you as an agency to be able to pivot like in such a fast-paced changing environment?
You know what? I wouldn't necessarily say that we need to pivot, because I think with having that strategic long-term approach, like we're very aware that there will always be new tools that come out, new channels to go on. And it's weird, actually. I was having the same conversation yesterday because someone said, oh, what about within the next few months when you'll be able to start actually like putting your bank details into AI and buying through AI? And I was like, what? How you could, like, the same as how you could do that on Instagram 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you've literally got a really good like digital infrastructure on your website and all of your products are tagged up with like the correct SEO and alt tags and like high quality product photography, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you are, I guess, like your foundations are there and your digital infrastructure allows it.
Yeah.
You don't need to kind of concern yourself with the new things that come out.
Yeah. Is it sort of a little bit of kind of getting blinded by the hype kind of thing? Because to that point, that is an e-commerce point, that you've just made there. As you say, that already exists and has existed for a long time. So the fact that you could now do that through like a ChatGPT or something like that, it's not actually new, really. It's just a different platform that you're doing it through. But there is an argument to say that the tech revolution and AI in particular is going to have significant impact on probably most industries in some vein or other. Now, my argument to this is always it's a tool. It's not going to replace you, but it might replace the people that don't know how to use it or what it is.
Or at like a low level admin and stuff level, because like I think it's, I mean, we've already worked with manufacturing companies where we've helped them to completely transform their digital infrastructure through like stock management, e-commerce websites, and making sure that their portal's integrated. And have they been able to cut their admin staff? Yes, they have. But they're delivering a much better kind of like experience to their customers. Everything is more joined up. They are more profitable as a business in the long term. So obviously it's horrible because you are in some ways doing people out of a job in some of the work that we do, but at the same time, like,
that's the natural process of change, though, isn't it? I mean, I say this all the time because I was like, if you go all the way back to sort of the Industrial Revolution, the fact that we use phones, drive cars, shop the way we do. I mean, world has changed because technology's changed, machinery's changed, everything's changed, and it will always change. It'll never. The issue I think at the moment is that the pace of change is so rapid because it's digital and it's instantaneous, and really there's no calm in it. We just kind of have to ride the wave.
It is true, but I also think as well, like we've still got clients that are still printing their order forms off to take them to the factory floor because they don't trust them to have iPads in the factory. And it's, I guess, when you're working with some heritage brands, like, the pace of change can be as fast as you like, but they're not changing because they don't want to do that, or it really disrupts their way of, I guess, like operating, and especially in companies like that, you find that people have been there for like 20 odd years and they wouldn't cope with the change that you could have.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where it's like from a change management perspective, a lot of the work that you do is psychological before you even start doing any of the actual kind of like tactical work on stuff like that. It's getting them to accept change first and foremost, which is really scary for a lot of people.
Yeah. No, I recognize that. And it is a challenge. And I think the idea of disruption in businesses, I think is because it's that absolute reluctance to recognize and look outwards and see what's going on. But there's something interesting about appointing an agency. That's why I like what agencies and consultants do, even though sometimes it gets like a fluffy bad name. But actually, they're great because they're outside focused. They're not in your business. They're not in that kind of ecosystem. They're coming from the outside. And so it gives you a much clearer view. It's almost like a bird's eye view of like how it's operating, what it's trying to do, what it sounds like, what it looks like, what the brand is, all that kind of stuff. And then it's easier for you to say, okay, here's where I think we should be taking this based on what you're trying to do. So I like that idea, but I think you're right that it's difficult to kind of bring them with you, or maybe some people within that business with you. And I suppose if you're the leader of that business, you've kind of got that balance between recognizing we need to move forward and navigating the worries of your own staff who might have been there 30 years.
You know what, actually, when it comes to change and stuff, especially within heritage firms, it's usually when like you'll find it in like intergenerational ones. Maybe the dad who used to run it's now retiring, and then like I know one of the sons or daughters comes up to take it over, and they're a lot younger. So they'll be much more open to change, and you'll usually have like the founder or the CEO super bought into what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Because as a founder / CEO of that sort of company, you're probably most founders tend to be quite impatient in some ways.
Yeah.
So they do want things done in the most efficient way. And it's not them that you need to get on board. It's all of the operational staff, because if you're changing how they've done their job day to day in the last 20 years or so, like it can really damage a culture. Even if their CEO's saying, no, we're doing it. Well, who's doing it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not about just making the decision and kind of putting it out there. Everyone has to be bought into it. I mean, the culture of the business is, in my opinion, is the most important thing.
One other thing we do actually when we take on a new client, we obviously have kind of like the talks with our day-to-day contacts, be like the managing director or like the ops director, business development director. But we always talk to like head of technical or like kind of other people in senior positions, because we want to get to know how they experience the business.
Yeah.
And I'd say that's really invaluable, because you start picking up then on like kind of maybe internal politics or power plays that can get in the way of you achieving like the goals that the business have actually asked you to do.
Yeah.
Sure. So yeah, that's one of the things that I think makes us different as well. Like, we don't want to just please the person that's doing that. We want to make sure everyone actually works cohesively together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, what is a big reputation in your opinion? Like, how would you define that?
You know what? Whenever I think about it, is if like, I'll tell you the story actually about why I called it big reputation. So I was driving to work and I was stuck in traffic in the car, and then the song Endgame came on by Taylor Swift, and like Big Reputation's one of their lyrics. And I just remember thinking like, isn't that just the point of marketing though, to have like the biggest reputation in your industry, so that if someone thinks like, oh, I want to start a podcast, oh, I'll contact Wayne, he does podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that they thought about you first, that to me is a big reputation.
Yeah.
Because that's just the point, isn't it?
Yeah. And when you first go into clients, or when, in fact, reverse it. So when clients first come to you as an agency, is their definition of a big reputation the same as your definition of it? Like, what is it they're seeking from you generally? What is the first point of coming to an agency like yours? What is it they want to do?
We've got like kind of copy and stuff on our website around like, do you want to lead your market? And people that come to us and echo that sort of sentiment, we love working with them because it shows that they're competitive, like they're forward looking, they really want to dominate an industry and like kind of be the best in it. And that really speaks to me as, one, a competitive person, but two, someone who loves sports. Like, you want to play that game and play it really well.
Sure.
Some people come because they want the big reputation, not necessarily the business.
Yeah.
They're the red flags.
Right.
Purely because I think in business, sometimes to do it well, you have to put the business and the brand first, sometimes at the expense of you as the founder or the owner.
Yeah.
And if I can't see that in someone, it makes me question whether I want to work with them.
Does that go back to this? So does that go back to this personal branding piece then, where it's kind of, is it personal branding or is it kind of self vanity?
Yeah, and I think it is 100% that, and it's like we've also not taken on businesses where, like, for example, they have these amazing brand guidelines and assets and stuff, but actually when you dig into it, like, they've got really terrible reviews.
Yeah.
Like, I'll never get you a big reputation in the way that you want it because I can't fix your operational incapacity.
Yeah.
Or like your poor customer service.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's just been really clear on what we can and can't do for people.
Yeah.
Like, the types of businesses we love working with are the ones that have been around for a while and they've grown and they're doing stuff, but they're maybe not naturally gifted at shouting about things.
Sure.
But if you were to go to anyone in that business, they'd be really passionate about what it is that they're doing.
Yeah. So again, it's
yeah.
that authenticity piece, isn't it? It's that experience and authenticity. So they're good at what they do. Maybe they're really great at making furniture or whatever it is that they do.
Yeah.
And they've been doing that for years and years and the customers love it and they're just known for quality and greatness. But they're terrible at marketing. They're not really good at putting a brand on it or whatever. They just do what they do.
It's because they've been focusing on doing what they do and becoming really, really good at it.
Yeah.
And they've never thought to go outside of that and like do anything kind of.
But it's to leverage that thing as well, because you were saying earlier on about, you know, if you've got, it might well be that you do actually have a great brand, but you're just not leveraging that great brand. So if you've got a company that's got thousands of wonderful Google reviews or something like that, but they don't actually do anything with those Google reviews or emphasize the fact that, you know, we're the number one customer or whatever, you know, that's kind of where your bit comes in, because you say you're trying to build something around that.
Actually, when people say to us, like, all of our business comes from referrals, they're an amazing client for us because I'm like, if you're doing such a good job that you're just being referred to by other people because you're delivering such an amazing experience or product for them, like, we can work on that. We can do case studies. We can do educational content. We can share your thoughts and opinions to the wider industry and try and get you more people in a really targeted way. With those companies, all we're doing is taking what they already do and putting a marketing infrastructure behind it so that enables them to scale much more quickly than they would do by referrals alone.
Yeah, sure.
It kind of takes them from that reactive, like, oh, we've been referred by someone, to a proactive, like, look at the amazing things that we do and we could do this for you.
Yeah. And I suppose, and it's the natural thing that we do, isn't it? Because as consumers, when we think of brands, basically the word is trust, isn't it? Because it's brands we trust, you know. So if I want to buy like a new laptop or something, I'm in the Apple world, so I'm like instantaneously I'll think, okay, well, it's going to be a Mac probably. And why that? Why is it? Was because I've had experience of using it for many, many years.
Yeah.
I know what they're capable of, but I also know that they make very beautiful, pretty products that, you know, so they've kind of built it by their brand is built by doing what they do and surviving these years. But of course, they'll have a massive, wonderful branding infrastructure around them, which elevates that all day long with all of the stuff that they do. Now, we can't all be Apple, so I mean, but I think the theory is the same. You know, if you become known for doing something well, then you as an agency have something to work with to wrap that kind of brown. I almost say it's wrapping paper around it to kind of a vehicle to put that out.
It is, in a way. I think coming back to like when I used to work in sales and stuff, like I worked in sales for a recruitment company that was It's an international company, and it was one of those where it was called Robert Half actually, and it was so well known for the type of recruitment that it did that it was almost like the McAfee effect. Like, you're never going to get in trouble for hiring McAfee or buying McAfee products.
Yeah.
Like, you're never going to get into trouble for getting Robert Half to do your recruitment.
Yeah.
Because they had that incredible brand around it.
Sure.
That makes your job as a salesperson so much easier because you've got a marketing infrastructure and a brand infrastructure.
Sure.
That almost takes you away from being a very pushy salesperson to almost being like a closer or a negotiator to then almost take the order. It's like, chances are, if I want a new car, like, I'll have some brands I want to go into. If Audi can meet my requirements and like my monthly payments, they've got my business.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if I walked into, I don't know, like a Toyota or somewhere like that, they'd probably really have to try and sell me. But then again, I probably wouldn't walk into one because
see that's such an interesting definition, that, because then I think that's true as well, because when I think of a brand, I almost think of, if it's a brand that I know and it's a brand that I trust or has a reputation, then by default, they don't really need to sell it to me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because
they just need to fulfill your order.
they need to fulfill it, and they need to kind of, as your word, negotiate kind of the nuances of whatever that is. That might be how much I've got to spend, or like, does it fit in my living room, or whatever the thing is, so it's like, can I meet the requirement of what they need? But it's not, can I sell them the thing? Because we know they want the thing. They're here. They trust the brand. And I'm just thinking this, going back to the start of the podcast, and we're saying about this entrepreneurial side hustle, be successful, whatever. And often those are kind of videos or whatever that are put out by people that don't really have any leverage, they don't have any experience. So if they're flogging a course or something, they have to work really hard to sell you that course. And they have to give you as much kind of like carrot as possible to say, if you buy this thing will happen and it's amazing. Whereas people that are genuinely kind of having to do that, like, Microsoft doesn't have to overly sell Office 365 because it's a proven kind of history. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. And you know what, actually, it kind of like, even though we're just over 2 years in with my brand, like, I probably turned away more business this quarter than I've actually taken on.
Yeah.
And it's from people like, I had the conversation actually this morning with someone. They're a kind of like community engagement / not-for-profit organisation, and they reached out because in the new year they wanted to start scaling their organisation. And I was very clear with them that we only work within our realms, like construction, manufacturing, professional services, and I wouldn't want to sell them something that I wasn't 100% sure that we could facilitate for them.
Yeah.
Because marketing for sales and the growth of a business is very different, in my opinion, to marketing for volunteers or growing a community.
Yeah.
And it's just not something that I'd like to focus the resources of my business towards.
Yeah. So there's an authenticity in being honest, and I mean, because that's the other thing. It's the clambering for business, and I guess if you go away from the agency side and you go back to, say, one of your clients, for example, it would be the same approach for them. If they're kind of, I mean, there's nothing wrong trying to sell your product because that's what you're in business to do, right? But like if you're working so hard that you're really having to convince people, hey, listen, we're great and you should buy our thing, then that would suggest that your brand or your reputation is not really being reflected correctly, because you're trying to oversell it.
Well, it goes back to, I guess, power dynamics, doesn't it? Because then if you're going after clients and you really have to convince them to go over the line, like, they're always going to be a bit dubious of you.
Yeah, sure.
And like, any suggestions that you put forward to them later down the line, it will turn into a battle again. Yeah. And then it's like, every conversation you're going to have to work and earn their approval and their trust. And I don't think you end up being a trusted advisor if that's how you have to approach business.
Yeah, and I think, and that goes back to, you made a comment earlier on about kind of like the quick wins, getting the quick sales and stuff like that. And it might well be that you win that customer in that moment to buy the thing that you sell or whatever. But I mean, one of the big things about brands and big reputations is having this sustained loyal customer base, isn't it?
Yeah.
And them always coming to you, or you being the kind of their go-to trusted provider of whatever it is you do. So with that first sale that you have with them, that has to be authentic and genuine and built on this like value added. We give the thing that you want, and you can trust us to deliver on that. And I suppose, again, going back to that oversell, if you're really having to pull them over the line and drag them over to buy your thing, then the likelihood is that's not going to be a good long-term relationship.
No, definitely not. And I think as well, like, it does come back to, like, every conversation will end up being a battle.
Yeah.
And you can't win every single one. And the second that you lose one, you almost lose face, and then the relationship's over anyway.
Yeah. So then when I'm thinking about branding and big reputation and what you do, for me, that almost is the narrative that underpins it, in terms of what you do for clients. You're trying to put them into this position where they have this open, trusted, authentic relationship, ongoing relationship with an audience, with their customer base, as opposed to going in there just to win them sales.
Yeah, and I've got a funny story actually about this. So this was a client that we were working with, and we no longer work with this client, but they brought in a new business development person that sent an emailer out to quite a lot of people that was very much like, it was never how I would personally do anything like this. It was very much like, I am X person, this is my job, this is a company I work for. And I don't think he mentioned the customer once or the prospect once. And then at the end of it, it turned out he'd actually got his personal assistant to send it. So it was like, hi, I'm X.
Yeah.
And at the bottom it was like sent from, I don't know, like Kelly or someone.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even sent from the person that had sent it.
Yeah.
And I was a bit like, I'm so glad we almost don't work with them anymore, because like, I don't want people thinking I was behind that.
Yeah. Well, I think, because you get that, I mean, it's the cringe effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see it and you go, oh, that's not good. That does not look good. And there's no way that's converting in any way, shape or form.
No. But then it comes down to, again, being like genuine and stuff. And like, we've had quite a few people recently that have wanted our support and our help, but they maybe can't afford like our day rates and stuff. But it's like, okay, well, operationally it doesn't make sense for us to do this because they can't afford it. But from an innovation piece, like, how can we actually scale this business in a way that we can still offer some level of support to these people, or like at least some education to them, so that they're at least armed with this, because they're not going to get it from us. But how can they make sure that whoever does it, even if it's themselves, it's delivering for them?
Yeah. Well, that leads nicely onto my final question, actually, then, which is about building real influence. And I guess it's advice, really. It's like, so for somebody that's trying to grow their business, develop their brand, understand what branding is, build that quote unquote big reputation, what are some of these sort of practical first steps that they as an organization can think about? So they're not yet in a position to come to you and say, can you help us do this? But as leaders of an organization, they say, look, we're aware that we need to develop our brand. We need to build that reputation. We need to build that trust. What are some of the things that practically they should be thinking about?
I'd say what makes them different to their customers, and not just in like your kind of classic features and benefits kind of way, or like not your hygiene factors either.
Yeah.
Like, when you sit down and you have a conversation like, oh, why do people choose to work with you? And it's like, oh, because we have great customer service. It's like, I don't think that's why.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a given.
Yeah.
It should be, at least, yeah.
Yeah, it should be at least. And it's kind of like what genuinely does make you different, and what kind of expertise or like views do you have that maybe other people don't have.
Yeah.
And what do you, like, if you were down the pub and you were having like an amazing chat with someone and it got a bit like kind of a heated back and forth, in the sense of like you're happy to die on that opinion, on the hill of that opinion, what would that opinion be? Because like that would probably be really interesting for you to talk about if you feel that strongly about it.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I always think to that same analogy, if you were down the pub and you were speaking about, if the subject was, I don't know, McDonald's, now immediately each person will have an opinion about McDonald's, and that could be good or bad, whatever. It might be like, I love McDonald's, I eat it every day of the week. Or it might be, God, that's a terrible company, whatever. You never know what the opinion. But that immediately is a brand representation, isn't it? And then it's generally, what's the overall narrative of that? If you was asking 1,000 people that, would it be generally, I love the fast food McDonald's, or would it be, God, they're a terrible company to work for and it's exploitative, or whatever. either side of the opinion, and then applying that to your own brand, to your own business.
Yeah, and your knowledge, and like chances are like you don't find many people that are just plucked into a position of leadership within a company.
Yeah.
Chances are you're there for a reason.
Yeah.
So what makes you special and why are you there? Like what's your insight that only you have?
Yeah.
Like why should people listen to you?
Yeah.
And that's not even the sense of just external anyway. Like if you're a leader of a company, why should people within that company listen to you?
Yeah.
Like it comes back, I guess, to like leadership principles in general.
Yeah, and your values, I guess,
Yeah.
because I always think people are most authentic when they genuinely believe what it is that they're saying. You can tell because and you could apply this into any context, but like politics is a prime example. You'll see like certain politicians, leaders who will kind of stand there and you can see it's completely choreographed, the hand movement, the sleeve rolled up, the phrasing. And if you clip together, I don't know, 10 of their sound bites from a newsreel or whatever, they'd say exactly the same thing because it's just like a script.
Yeah.
And then you'll get maybe another politician who kind of just comes from left field or something, and they're just you'll never hear them say the same thing twice because they're just naturally you can feel it, they believe what they're saying. It doesn't have to be forced.
You know what, weirdly, like whenever you think of people like that, I always think of like Piers Morgan or like Jeremy Clarkson or like people where you've got a really strong opinion of them either way.
Yeah.
But like there's no doubt, like, actually with Piers Morgan, I think he's a great example because if you actually listen to what he's saying, it's not actually that controversial.
Yeah.
But he says it in a tone that makes it come across as very confrontational and controversial.
Yeah.
And he's a great example of how it can, like quite vanilla sometimes opinion can cause absolute uproar.
Yeah.
But also as well, like he was happy to get sacked over not kind of apologising to Meghan Markle because that's what he believed in.
Yeah.
So fair play to him for that.
Yeah. So, I mean, and by default, he's sort of developed his personal brand, hasn't he? As being a controversial, pokey, argumentative, whatever the word is.
All he does is shout at people.
Yeah, exactly. But and that's a piece of branding in itself, isn't it? Because he from his point of view, he knows it's entertaining. That's kind of what gets clicks, what gets views, and makes people watch his show.
Yeah.
So he's developed that brand. And I suppose, but I guess the point of all that is that there's, from his point of view, there's an authenticity in it because he's sort of saying, look, this is just what I think. That's what I think, and I'm just going to say it. And then I guess his brand is, okay, let's build on that. How do we make that your thing? What you're kind of known for.
Yeah.
And I suppose if you put that in a more vanilla business concept outside of the celebrity world, if you're genuinely authentic as a business and you say, look, this is what we believe, this is what we make, this is what we produce, we're really good at it, and we want our customers to feel that way, and that's just what we're going to do, and we'll be the best we can possibly be. I guess the role of you is the branding part is to kind of turn that into a vehicle that they become, known for, is what's used to promote that output. Yeah,
we've got a client actually who are a construction firm, and they've been going for years. And since working with us, it was very clear that their brand didn't reflect like the capability of the company. It still looked like some guy was maybe running it with just him in a van.
Yeah.
And they're a multi-million turnover construction company working with the likes of like Wilmot Dixon and Wilton and Bespoke Construction.
Yeah.
So they obviously wanted to grow, and we were like, well, for you to grow, you almost need to mirror the size of the company that you want to bring you on as a subcontractor.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to do that if you don't look like you can handle the workload.
Yeah.
So with them, that's a really good example of like how we've completely, like we've not changed anything within their business. We've just made them look and appear much more evolved as a brand and reflective of their actual internal capability.
Yeah. So what is your vision then? What's your output? What would be, I said at the start, jokingly, it's a bit of a thorn in your side, a lot of this kind of narrative that goes around. What's the ideal world for you? What do you want to see businesses do? What do you want to see branding become?
I mean, from my side, like I like businesses, I like things doing well, like I like people doing well, and I think sometimes this country isn't always conducive to that, and I think if we could champion each other more and businesses had maybe like the support to grow and be prosperous, I think it would make everyone much happier within the country. They talk a lot about politics at the moment around like the productivity problem.
Yeah.
And I think there's not really any incentive for people to do well at the moment. Or there's not really like the support or like the springboard there for people to do well.
Yeah.
So what I'd really like to see from a business perspective is just more support for that area in general, but also at the same time more transparency around it, because I think people look to the online gurus that we were talking about at the start because there is such lack of practical support out there for businesses that they're looking to these people and they're falling victim to buying these courses or this hustle culture. And they don't realise that you can actually be a well-rounded person with hobbies, friends and family and also run a business as well.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of having that real world, on the ground, tangible access to support, real world advice, real world understanding of your customer, all of that stuff, as opposed to looking to the virtual world and the almost aspirational messages that kind of are being pumped out.
Yeah.
And maybe that's leading businesses off track or leading individuals off track and to make them make the wrong decisions.
Definitely the younger generations, yeah. And I think it's also, I worked in sales and marketing for 10 years before I started my own business.
Yeah.
And I never set out to actually start my own business. The only reason that I did so was because I'd set up business divisions within different companies and they'd always performed well.
Yeah.
And then that made me think, oh, well, I might as well try it for myself.
I could do something with this.
Yeah. And I think in a way, like, I'm kind of glad that I'm an accidental entrepreneur in a way.
Yeah.
Because I never came into it thinking like, oh, well, within 2 years, I'll be driving a Ferrari and have a flat in Knightsbridge in London.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was never my goal anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I just had an idea and I wanted to see if it had legs.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's a really good point. And I think for me, I always think as an individual, if you're a younger person, but for anybody, I mean, even older people, if you're watching stuff online and you know, you're aspiring to have something better or have a better life, I always go down to the fundamentals, like what makes you happy? What would be the ideal for you? Because like the ideal for you is not a Ferrari or a private jet or whatever. That's a luxury.
Yeah.
You know, but what's your ideal? Is your ideal being to be able to spend an extra few hours with your kids every day because you're working a few hours less? Is your ideal being able to go on holiday once a year? Is it to I don't know, be able to not worry about the gas bill? Whatever. You know, what makes you comfortable? And then build around that.
Like one of the things that I'm really glad that I've got my own business for, I got a place in the London Marathon in April. So the fact that like I can train during the day and I don't have to do my runs at night in the dark as a woman, like I feel really happy that I've got my own autonomy to do that and plan my days around it.
Yeah.
And I think in a way it's like actually using your business to achieve other goals that you have as well.
Yeah.
Not just the business being the goal.
Yeah. What's the balance for you? I mean, it's funny. The last guest I had on the show, he had said something similar, and we was talking about similar sort of things around entrepreneurship and whatnot. But he was saying about what he loves about with what he's doing is that he can play football on a Wednesday night. He said, I've got the time to pull away. I don't have to book any appointments in those slots because I can go play. And I love doing that. That's my time to go and enjoy time. Or he goes and trains with his dad at the gym or something. But those are very personal kind of just moments, and he's not restricted in any way because he's built his infrastructure to enable that. But that's what makes him happy.
Yeah.
His happiness. His business is very successful, but that's not the thing that makes him happy. That's just a housekeeping of growth, if you like. It's not it's not the aspiration of, you know. So I think it's really finding that balance. And to your point of saying beware of the online gurus, I think there is an element of ask yourself, why are they there in the first place? If they're so successful and they're you know, what they've done is so amazing, what are they online posting videos
it's just
for?
motive, isn't it? It's like, I don't know, maybe I'm cynical, but I always think like, what's this person, like, why are they reaching out to me, or like, what do they want from this situation? Because like, it's just human nature. Everyone wants something, don't they?
Sure.
So it's like, if something seems too good to be true, in my opinion, it usually is.
Yeah.
Especially if they're reaching out to you to give you an opportunity that you've not even kind of asked for.
Yeah.
That's when it kind of really gets my back up.
And I think going back to your point in what you do in sort of a big reputation is if you are so good at what you've done or what you've built and you're brilliant at it, by default, you're building that reputation, you're building that brand because you're being, people are using you, right? Because you've been successful in whatever it is that you're doing. So then people that aspire to achieve whatever it is that you've achieved and want to kind of follow in your footsteps will by default gravitate. You won't need to sell the thing. Yeah. It doesn't mean you don't brand it up and you don't have an agency or whatever to make sure that the narrative is out there and you're talking about it. Like you're on here now, just adding value and talking, saying, look, this is what I know and what I've learned and here's some advice for you. That's great. I think that's really powerful. But if you was on here now sort of saying, I've got the best branding agency in the country and really you should work with me because I'll make you really successful. That would be really weird because you wouldn't, they'd be like, well, who are you? It would be that sort of message.
I guess to add kind of like a really good point to this. So, our 3 biggest retained clients have come off the back of my personal LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So they found me through LinkedIn. They probably didn't like anything before they actually became clients, but I can say I've got a monthly recurring revenue of over 16k a month coming into my business just from my LinkedIn content alone.
Yeah.
I'm not selling a LinkedIn course.
No. But that's because of authenticity, right?
Yeah.
Because you're there, you're adding value, you're talking about stuff, you're not selling anything, you're just being doing what you do,
I don't have a LinkedIn course. It's one of those where it's like, I'm just very good at kind of showing up consistently on the platform and sharing what my opinions are.
Yeah.
As a result, people seem to gel with that content.
Yeah, one other point I would just make on that as well is I'm thinking of stuff like, say, like TikTok Shop or something like that, which is a massive explosion. There's no doubt it's huge. It's absolutely huge. But of course, with that comes 1,000 videos of young kids sort of saying, hey, I made loads of money on here and I'm going to teach you how to do it. And if you join my thing, blah, 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 all that stuff. Now, what I find interesting about that is that if somebody's been particularly successful in whatever the trend is or whatever the explosion is, if people are genuinely aspiring to do that, to follow that trend and say, I want to do what you did, they will seek you out and they will research and follow people that are doing well in that arena because there's a natural curiosity to learn. How have they done that? And I want to do that. So in a way, the need for you to kind of tell people you're great and that you've done it and whatever becomes pointless, really, because you've already done it, and the people that genuinely want to do it will seek you out. The people that who are actually buying your course, likelihood are not going to follow through with it. They're buying they're buying an aspiration, but they're not buying the workload that actually goes into really making that thing happen.
I also think as well, like in the nicest way possible, like you're not going to teach a competition, are you?
No.
So,
but it's that business owner thing, isn't it? Like you said earlier on that people, you're so lucky to own your own business, and I get it all the time. Oh God, I wish I hate my boss, and I wish I was doing what you was doing. But I'm always like, do you really? Because if you knew what actually has to go into making that happen. If you go beyond the aspiration of the fact that you just don't like the position you're in currently, and actually go into, could you really do that? Do you really want to do that work? Because actually it's really bloody hard to do this thing,
just decisions that you have to make in general. But then it comes down to like your moral compass.
Yeah.
And my big thing was like, as long as I can sleep at night, I don't care if I've lost money. I don't care if like I've upset someone, as long as I've done the right thing and like it genuinely is the right thing on an objective level. Yeah. Like I can get through that because I'll sleep fine knowing I've done that right thing.
Sure. Okay, so for listeners then, what's the takeaway? What is when we're thinking about hustle cultures, entrepreneurship, personal brands, influencers, you want them to think again?
Not necessarily think again, just be really good at something before you want to be really known for it.
Yeah, excellent. And if people want to reach out to you and find out more about what you do, work with you, get advice from you, what do they need to do?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, Chelsea Spencer. I'm the managing director of Big Reputation, or you can check out our website, which is www.bigreputation.co.uk.
Okay, so bigreputation.co.uk. if you're interested in branding, if you're interested in actually genuinely building authentic reputations, developing your business, this is what this company does, this is what this agency does. So reach out. I'm sure if you reached out to Chelsea on LinkedIn and asked any questions off the back of the pod, she'd be happy to engage with you or whatever message. So do reach out. Chelsea, this has been really, really interesting. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast. Thanks for making the journey up to sunny Hull. It's a real pleasure to have you. And I look forward to this coming out, and good luck with the agency.
Thank you.
All right. All the best.
Cheers.